Government forces have freed 149 people taken hostage by the Taliban in Afghanistan. The militants took the people hostage following an ambush on their buses in the northern city of Kunduz. They are holding 20 security personnel who were also captured during the ambush. Relatives of the hostages who were freed say that the fate of 21 civilians remains unknown. The Taliban have rejected a 3-month ceasefire proposal by the Afghan government. The militants say that fighting against government forces will continue. The group also says that American forces may extend their stay in the country if they agree to the truce. On Sunday, President Ashraf Ghani announced a conditional ceasefire ahead of the al-Adha if the Taliban agrees. Now, as for the Afghanistan story that I just mentioned a couple of stories back, we have a ceasefire offer by the Afghan government, but the Taliban have rejected that, and they have attacked some buses. They have taken some people hostage. Now, let's go to Adam Gary, who's a director with Eurasia Future, and ask his opinion about this situation in Afghanistan. Why should the Kabul government ask for a truce? The last time it asked for a truce was, I think, a month ago or 2 months ago. It just lasted a few days, and then Taliban got back onto the scene again, and violence even got exacerbated.
Well, the issues that are facing Afghanistan as a whole aren't issues about good or bad, but about bad and worse. So in this sense, the various ceasefire deals that have happened over the last years, including some very short ones that you just mentioned, are taken out of a necessary sense of desperation. This war seems to have no end, and indeed, from the strategic perspective of the United States, the U.S. doesn't want it to end, because the U.S. knows that it cannot win in the traditional sense that the Washington power brokers would define victory. But what Washington does want is to make it more difficult for Pakistan and Iran to form their necessary economic partnership, which should be strengthened by a stable Afghanistan. They want to continue to provoke China in terms of putting a roadblock in the midst of its One Belt, One Road trading initiative. And they also want to invite other powers to the country that could provoke both Pakistan and Iran on either side of Afghanistan. And so from the U.S. perspective, having a quagmire, having a constant tug of war between Kabul, the Taliban, and other dangerous forces like Daesh that are in the country, they want it to be the mess that it currently is in. The only way out of this terrible mess is to have an all-party peace process during which a long-term ceasefire must be observed by all the parties to that peace process. One would also need international assurances behind this peace process, and all of the country's neighbors should ultimately participate in this. Until that kind of dialogue process happens, and until those parties are at the table, the best of a very bad situation are these short-term ceasefires, and when they're accepted, it's a better than worse thing, one can put it that way. And when they're not, it's just a reflection of the dire situation that the country has faced after almost 40 years now of provocations, manipulations, and more recently occupations by the United States.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you for that. That was Adam Gary, Director of Eurasia Future, joining us on the phone from London.